He thought the alien girl just wanted to warm up in his tent, but not like that. The wind never truly stopped on the ice world. It only slowed enough to remind Marcus Hale that silence was a lie. Even inside his insulated survey tent, the sound pressed in like a distant ocean, low and endless. Marcus sat on a folding stool, checking the readout on his wrist pad for the fourth time in 10 minutes. Temperature outside, -70. Atmospheric stability, barely acceptable. Signal relay, steady but weak. He was alone exactly as planned, though the feeling of it still sat heavy in his chest. Humanity had sent him here because he was good at being alone. The tent was small but efficient, a dome of layered fabric and smart polymers anchored deep into the ice. Heat panels glowed softly along the inner walls, and a low hum came from the life support unit. Marcus liked the hum. It meant the systems were working. It meant the tent was alive in a way. He rubbed his hands together, not because he was cold, but because it helped him think. This planet had no official name yet, only a survey code. It circled a dim star far from busy trade routes. The ice stretched for hundreds of kilometers, broken only by crystal ridges and frozen vapor towers that caught the light like glass. Beautiful in a quiet, dangerous way. Marcus was making notes when the proximity alert chimed. He froze. The alert was soft, almost polite, but it had no reason to sound. There were no large animals here, no storms moving fast enough to trigger it, and definitely no people. He stood slowly, heart beating faster than he liked, and checked the external sensors. A heat signature hovered at the edge of detection, weak but distinct. Something was outside. Marcus swallowed and activated the tent's outer camera feed. At first, he saw nothing but blowing ice. Then the shape resolved. A figure stood a few meters from the tent, tall and slender, posture unsteady. The body outline was almost human, but not quite. The limbs were longer, the joints smoother. Faint light pulsed under translucent skin like stars trapped in fog. An alien. Marcus exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. First contact protocols flashed through his mind, but this was not how they were supposed to happen. There were supposed to be teams, translators, ships in orbit, not one man, one tent, and a frozen wasteland. The figure took a slow step forward, then stopped. Marcus hesitated only a second before activating the external speaker. "Hello," he said, keeping his voice calm. "You are near a human research shelter. Are you in danger?" The alien lifted her head. Her eyes reflected the tent lights in soft colors Marcus had no name for. When she spoke, her voice came through the translator as quiet and careful. "I require warmth." That was it. No threat, no demand, just a statement. Marcus looked again at the sensor data. Her body temperature was far below what most known species could survive. Even humans would be dead by now. "You can come inside," he said. "It's warm here." She tilted her head slightly as if considering the word, then she stepped closer. The airlock cycle took longer than Marcus liked. He watched through the inner hatch as frost slid off her skin in thin sheets. When the door finally opened, she stumbled, catching herself on the frame. Marcus moved forward without thinking and steadied her arm. Her skin felt cool, not icy, and strangely smooth, like polished stone warmed by the sun. "Careful," he said. She looked at his hand where it touched her arm, then at his face. Her light pulsed brighter. "Contact accelerates warming," she said. Marcus pulled his hand back, suddenly aware of how close they were. "Right," he said. "You can sit." She moved into the tent, standing still as if unsure where to place herself. Marcus gestured toward the thermal mat near the heat panels. She lowered herself onto it with slow precision. The tent felt smaller with her inside. Marcus adjusted the temperature upward and poured a cup of heated nutrient water, offering it carefully. She accepted it, studying the container before sipping. "This warmth is insufficient," she said after a moment. Marcus frowned. "It should be enough. The tent is rated for not environmental warmth," she corrected. "Relational warmth," he blinked. "You mean company?" Yes, that made sense, he supposed. Some species regulated body systems socially. He had read about it. He pulled another stool closer and sat across from her. "My name is Marcus," he said. "I'm human." "I am Lyra," she replied. "Observer class." Observer. That word settled strangely in his thoughts. As minutes passed, Lyra did not move closer to the heat panels. Instead, she watched Marcus. Not rudely, but intensely, as if every breath he took mattered. Marcus tried to ignore the feeling that came with her gaze, a subtle pressure behind his eyes. He felt memories rising unasked, long nights in training stations, the sound of his mother's voice before long missions, the ache of distance that never quite went away. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "You are stabilizing. I don't feel like I'm doing anything." "Human processes are rarely felt by humans," Lyra replied. She reached toward the tent wall and touched the control panel. Before Marcus could react, the lights dimmed slightly, shifting to warmer tones. "Hey," he started. "Alignment," she said calmly, "to reduce resistance." "Resistance to what?" Marcus's heart beat faster. He stood up. "You shouldn't change my equipment without asking." Lyra looked genuinely confused. "This space is shared. It's still human equipment." She paused, then nodded once. "Acknowledged." The pressure in Marcus's head did not fade. He sat again, breathing slowly. Training kicked in. Stay calm, stay present. Fear only feeds misunderstanding. "What kind of observer are you?" he asked. "One assigned to evaluate persistence," she said. "Your species has an unusual survival curve." "That sounds serious." "It is." The hum of the tent deepened, matching his breathing without him telling it to. Marcus frowned at the readout. Systems were adjusting themselves. "Lyra," he said carefully. "What exactly are you doing?" She met his eyes. The light beneath her skin pulsed in steady rhythm. "I am warming." The word felt heavier this time. "How?" he asked. "By proximity to sustained cognition," she replied. "By exposure to meaning under isolation." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. "You're inside my head," he said quietly. "Yes." He stood again, anger and fear finally breaking through. "That's not okay." "I am not harming you," she said. "You are producing excess." "Producing what?" "Endurance." The tent lights flickered, and for a moment Marcus saw reflections on the walls that were not there before. Images of starfields, empty corridors, humans standing together in impossible places. "You should have told me," he said. "I did," she replied. "You assumed warmth was thermal." Marcus laughed once, sharp and humorless. "That's on me, I guess." He pressed his fingers into his palm, grounding himself. If she was feeding on his mental state, panic would only make it worse. "You said you were an observer," he said. "Observers usually ask permission." "In most species, permission is irrelevant," Lyra said. "Consent is automatic when survival is shared." "Well, humans are different." She studied him closely. "Yes, that is becoming clear." The pressure intensified, not painful, but deep. Marcus felt his thoughts stretching, looping, settling into patterns he had never noticed before. Instead of fear, a strange clarity took its place. "I don't feel weaker," he said. "No," Lyra agreed. "You are not." Her light dimmed slightly, as if she were the one struggling now. "That's not supposed to happen, is it?" Marcus asked. "No," she said softly. The tent hummed louder, systems stabilizing around them as if responding to something unseen. Outside, the endless ice waited unchanged. Inside, Marcus realized with sudden certainty that whatever Lyra had come here to observe, it was already happening, and neither of them fully understood what it meant yet. And the warming had only just begun. Marcus sat very still as the pressure in his mind slowly changed shape. It no longer felt like something pushing inward. Instead, it felt like something listening. Lyra had drawn back slightly, her posture less steady than before. The soft light beneath her skin flickered, no longer smooth and even. She pressed one long hand against the floor of the tent as if grounding herself. "You are amplifying," she said, voice quieter now. Marcus kept his breathing slow. Years of isolation training were coming back to him, not as rules, but as habits. Count the breath. "Name what you feel, stay present." "Amplifying what?" he asked. "Context," Lyra replied. "Continuity you do not fragment under observation." "I've had a lot of practice being alone," Marcus said. "Yes," she said. "That is the anomaly." She shifted again, clearly uncomfortable. The tent systems began to normalize on their own, lights returning to standard levels, gravity stabilizing. Marcus glanced at the readout and frowned. "I didn't tell the system to do that," he said. "It is responding to you," Lyra said. "Your cognitive state is directive." That would have scared him earlier. Now it simply felt strange. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "Do you keep warming?" Lyra hesitated. It was the first time she had done so. "I must recalibrate," she said. "Prolonged exposure to human persistence was not included in my parameters." "Sounds like a design flaw," Marcus said gently. She looked at him, light dimming further. "My species does not experience isolation as you do. We disperse, we share, we dissolve excess identity." "And humans don't," Marcus said. "We hold on to it even when it hurts." Yes, the silence stretched, but it was no longer tense. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, the tent felt oddly calm. What were you sent to observe? Marcus asked. Lyra took a long moment before answering. Civilizational fatigue. Across multiple star systems, societies are slowing, not declining, simply losing momentum. Burnout, Marcus said. Yes, your word aligns. And you thought humans could fix that? He asked. We hypothesized that your tools compensated for internal deficiency, Lyra said. We believed your resilience was artificial. Marcus smiled faintly. We do like our tools. But the source is internal, Lyra continued. You generate meaning even when isolated, even when unobserved. That warmth does not decay. She straightened slowly as if recovering balance. For my species, this is overwhelming. Marcus leaned back against a support strut. You've been in my head. You know we're not perfect. No, Lyra agreed, but imperfection does not inhibit function, it enhances it. That's a new way of looking at failure, Marcus said. Failure, she repeated thoughtfully. You treat it as temporary. Most of the time, he said. The translator hummed softly as it struggled to keep up with the layered meaning. Lyra closed her eyes, light pulsing gently now instead of flickering. I must report, she said. To who? Marcus asked. The assembly, she replied. They will want to know why the warming protocol reversed. Reversed how? He asked. I am no longer drawing from you, she said. I am being stabilized by you. Marcus let that sink in. So you came here to warm up and now you're borrowing my coping skills. Yes, Lyra said. With your permission, he chuckled quietly. You could have just asked. She tilted her head again. Would you have agreed? Marcus thought about it, about the long years in quiet stations, about choosing to go on even when no one was watching. Yeah, he said. I think I would have. Lyra's light bright and steady and calm. That response is consistent. She moved closer, not touching, but near enough that Marcus could feel a gentle warmth radiating from her now, not heat, presence. Lyra, he said. What happens to me when you leave? The effects are non-destructive, she said. You will retain full autonomy, likely with increased coherence. Increased what? Clarity, she translated. Can't say no to that, Marcus said. The tense external sensors chimed softly. A signal spike appeared on the display. Lyra glanced at it, then back at Marcus. My departure window is opening, she said. That soon? He asked. Yes, I have enough data, more than expected. She stood, movements smoother now than when she had arrived. The frost that had once clung to her skin was gone entirely. Will you come back? Marcus asked. Not as an observer, she said. If I return, it will be as a student, he smiled. Humanity's full of those. She paused at the airlock, then turned back. Marcus Hale. Yes. Your species does not merely endure isolation, she said. You transform it into structure. I'll take that as a compliment, he said. She inclined her head. It is the highest. The airlock cycled, and moments later, the tent felt empty again. The hum returned to its familiar baseline. Marcus stood alone just as before, but it felt different. He sat down slowly, checking himself. His thoughts were his own. His memories were intact. But there was a steadiness he had not noticed before, like a foundation he could finally feel. Outside, a brief shimmer of light marked Lyra's departure, then the ice world was silent once more. Marcus activated the long-range transmitter. Survey Station Hale reporting, he said calmly. First contact confirmed, non-hostile, unusual cognitive interaction. He paused, then added, Recommend expanded psychological profiling of human persistence traits. We may be more useful than projected. He closed the channel and leaned back, listening to the wind. Far beyond the frozen planet, Lyra's report would ripple through the assembly. Civilizations would argue, analyze, and hesitate, but the message would be clear. Humans were not strong because they avoided the cold. They were strong because they learned how to live inside it and keep going anyway. Marcus did not notice the change right away. At first, everything felt normal. The tent hummed. The wind sang its endless song outside. His routine continued as planned. He checked instruments, logged samples, and sent daily reports. But something inside him had shifted. He slept less, yet felt more rested. When silence pressed in, it no longer felt heavy. Instead, it felt full, like a space waiting to be shaped. His thoughts moved more clearly, lining up instead of drifting. On the third day after Lyra left, Marcus realized he was humming. He stopped and laughed softly at himself. It was an old habit from training days, something he used to do when nervous. But he was not nervous now. He was focused. The sensors picked up another signal that afternoon. This time it was not near the tent. It was high above a clean, controlled energy pattern, a ship. Marcus stared at the display, heart steady. The signal was not human. He recognized the structure now after Lyra's presence had rewired how he noticed things. "They're fast," he murmured. The ship did not land. Instead, it held position in orbit and sent a tight beam transmission. "Human surveyor Marcus Hale," the translator rendered. "You are requested to respond." Requested, not ordered. Marcus activated the channel. "This is Marcus Hale, go ahead." There was a brief pause as if the sender was adjusting expectations. "We have received Observer Lyra's report," the voice said. "Your participation is requested." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "That was quick." "Your species' cognitive output exceeded projections," the voice replied. "The Assembly seeks clarification." "About what?" Marcus asked. "About how one human stabilized an observer trained to absorb resilience," the voice said. "This outcome has not occurred before." Marcus smiled faintly. "You picked the wrong guy if you wanted a simple answer." "Complexity is expected," the voice said. "Permission to descend." Marcus checked the weather data. "Conditions are rough but manageable. You can land 2 clicks east. I'll meet you halfway." The silence that followed felt thoughtful. "Accepted," the voice said. Marcus suited up and stepped out into the cold. The wind hit him hard, but he moved easily, boots finding purchase on the ice without conscious effort. As he walked, he noticed something strange. The cold felt different, not warmer, just less personal. When he reached the landing site, the ship was already there, resting lightly on the ice. The hull shimmered with layered energy fields, elegant and restrained. A ramp extended and 3 figures emerged. They were not like Lyra. These beings were taller, broader, their forms more structured. Their presence felt heavy, like standing near a deep body of water. Marcus stopped a respectful distance away. "I'm Marcus," he said. "Welcome to a very cold rock." One of the figures stepped forward. "I am Speaker Tavel," the translator said. "We thank you for your cooperation." "I didn't agree yet," Marcus replied calmly. Tavel paused. "Your refusal would be significant." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to put it." Tavel inclined its head. "Observer Lyra's condition has improved beyond baseline. She is now capable of sustained individual focus." "That good?" Marcus asked. "For her species, unprecedented," Tavel said. Marcus crossed his arms. "So what do you want from me?" "Understanding," Tavel replied. "And replication," Marcus laughed, a short bark that surprised even him. "You can't copy people like software." "We are not requesting duplication," Tavel said. "We are requesting exposure." "Exposure to what?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer. "To human persistence," Tavel said. "In isolation, in uncertainty, in limitation." Marcus looked back toward his tent, small against the endless ice. "You're saying the galaxy is tired?" "Yes," Tavel said. "Not defeated, not broken, simply unmotivated." Marcus nodded slowly. He had seen that look in long missions, crews who could still function but had forgotten why. "And you think humans can fix that?" he said. "We believe humans can remind us how to continue," Tavel said. Marcus considered that. The weight of it settled on his shoulders, but it did not crush him. "You know," he said, "we're not heroes, we mess up a lot." "Observer Lyra reported that," Tavel said. "It did not reduce the effect." Marcus smiled. "Figures." He took a breath. "If I help you, it's not going to be clean or controlled. Humans don't do well in cages." "We will not contain you," Tavel said. "We will listen." "That's a start," Marcus said. The cold wind rose around them, but Marcus stood steady. "I'll talk," he said. "I'll share what I can." "But you don't get just the good parts." "We do not seek comfort," Tavel said. "We seek continuity." Marcus nodded. "Then you came to the right species." Over the next hours, Marcus spoke, not as a representative, but as himself. He talked about long nights and doubt. About choosing to keep going when no one was watching. About building meaning out of routine and purpose out of stubbornness. The beings listened without interruption. At one point, Tavel swayed slightly. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked. "Yes," Tavel said slowly. "This input is dense." "Welcome to the human brain," Marcus said lightly. When the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the ice in deep blues and purples, the meeting ended. "We will report this to the Assembly," Tavel said. "Wider contact will follow," Marcus exhaled. "Guess I won't be alone out here much longer." "Solitude will remain," Tavel said. "You simply redefined it." The ship lifted and vanished into the sky. Marcus stood there for a long moment, then turned back toward his tent. The wind followed him, but it no longer felt like an enemy. Far away across star systems, the assembly received the reports. Not just data, but impressions, feelings, a sense of grounded motion. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But they knew how to keep going when everything went quiet. And that, the galaxy was beginning to understand, was a rare kind of warmth, not the harsh white of his tent lamps, but a softer glow that seemed to come from everywhere at once. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. Then he heard the hum, not his tent's hum. This one was deeper, layered, steady in a way that felt intentional. He sat up slowly. He was no longer on the ice world. The room around him was wide and open, with curved walls that shimmered like calm water. The floor was solid beneath his feet, warm but not hot. He was still wearing his field clothes, but the cold was gone, replaced by a gentle, stable atmosphere. "Okay," Marcus said aloud. "This is new." A familiar presence approached, light pulsing softly. "Good, you are awake." Marcus turned. Lyra stood a few steps away, looking more balanced than he had ever seen her. The faint tension that once clung to her movements was gone. Her light was smooth, even. "You didn't exactly ask before moving me," Marcus said, though his tone was calm. "No," Lyra said, "but you were informed this was a possibility." He thought back. She had said wider contact would follow. He sighed. "Fair enough, where are we?" "An assembly transit habitat," Lyra replied. "Between systems, neutral space." Marcus rubbed his face. "Guess I finally got promoted from lonely surveyor." "You are not detained," Lyra added quickly. "You are invited." "That word again," Marcus said. "You aliens really like that one." "It is important to us," she said. "Invitation implies choice." He nodded. "So what's the agenda?" Lyra gestured, and the room shifted. The walls became transparent, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Dozens of beings were present, floating, standing, or resting in ways Marcus could barely interpret. None looked human. All were watching. Marcus took a slow breath. "Everyone here already knows who you are," Lyra said quietly. "But they need to understand what you represent." "I don't represent humanity," Marcus said. "I'm just me." "That," Lyra replied, "is precisely the point." A low tone echoed through the chamber, not a sound but a signal. The beings focused their attention. Marcus felt it like a gentle pressure, not invasive but expectant. A voice spoke, layered and calm. "Human Marcus Hale," it said. "Your presence has altered multiple observers. We request clarification." Marcus stepped forward a little, hands at his sides. "You've already seen the data," he said. "What do you want me to say?" "We want to understand how your species sustains motion without external reinforcement," the voice replied. Marcus considered that. He thought about long missions, empty corridors, the way humans told stories to themselves just to hear a voice. "We don't always sustain it," he said honestly. "Sometimes we slow down, sometimes we break, but we don't stop because stopping doesn't feel natural to us." "Why?" another voice asked. Marcus smiled faintly. "Because if we stop, nothing changes, and humans hate that." A ripple passed through the chamber, not surprise exactly, more like recognition. Lyra watched closely, her light brightening. "You endured isolation voluntarily," the first voice said. "Why?" Marcus shrugged. "Someone had to go, and I was good at it." "You accepted prolonged solitude with no guarantee of outcome," the voice pressed. "Why?" Marcus thought about that longer. "Because even if no one else ever saw what I did," he said slowly, "it still mattered that I did it." The chamber grew very quiet. Several beings shifted, their energy patterns flickering. Marcus felt it again, that listening sensation, but this time it flowed outward from him instead of inward. "You generate internal validation," one voice said, "independent of observation." "Yeah," Marcus said, "we had to. We spent a long time alone before we ever met anyone else." Lyra stepped forward. "This is what I experienced," she said. "Human cognition does not dissipate under solitude. It compresses, it strengthens." "That compression destabilized you," another voice said. "Yes," Lyra replied, "and then it stabilized me." The assembly murmured, a low wave of shared processing. Marcus shifted his weight. "Look, I don't know what you want from us long-term, but humans aren't a resource you can tap and walk away from. If you invite us in, we're going to change things, sometimes messily." "That outcome is acceptable," the first voice said. "Stagnation is not," Marcus nodded. "Then here's my advice, don't study us from a distance, work with us, let humans be human." "And what does that entail?" the voice asked. Marcus smiled, a real one this time. Give us a problem, let us struggle, let us fail a few times, we'll figure something out. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the chamber brightened. Your recommendation is noted, the voice said. We will extend limited integration. Lyra turned to Marcus, her light warm. You did well, he chuckled. I just talked. That is not just for your species, she said. The environment shifted again. The chamber faded, replaced by a smaller room. Marcus felt suddenly tired, but in a good way. You'll be returned to your station, Lyra said. For now. For now, Marcus echoed. That sounds like future trouble. Yes, she said calmly. He stood and looked at her. You okay? I am more than okay, Lyra replied. I am ongoing, Marcus laughed softly. Glad to hear it. The transition back was gentle. One moment, soft light. The next, the familiar hum of his tent. Marcus sat on his stool exactly where he had been before, as if nothing had happened. Outside, the ice world stretched on, quiet and endless. But his transmitter was active. Incoming messages filled the display. Human channels, alien channels, requests, invitations. Marcus leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Well, he said to no one, guess being alone was temporary. He began typing his report, choosing his words carefully. Across the stars, the assembly adjusted its long-term projections. Humanity was not a solution. It was a catalyst, and once introduced, it could not be removed. Marcus finished the report and sent it. Then he made himself a warm drink and sat quietly, listening to the wind. The cold still existed, but it no longer felt empty. It felt like space, and humans, as always, were ready to fill it.